بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين.
Interpretation of the Holy Quran.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. With the help of Allah, we began a brief commentary of Quran. We got to chapter Maeda, the 5th chapter of Quran, which is revealed in Medina. It has 120 verses. Please listen to verse 87.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تحرموا طيبات ما أحل الله لكم ولا تعتدوا إن الله لا يحب المعتدين.
O you who believe, do not forbid the good things which Allah has made lawful for you, and do not exceed the limits. Surely Allah does not love those who exceed the limits. As we talked about this verse in previous section, Allah wants to encourage people to use whatever is allowed to them, whatever is halal to them. Allah doesn't want people to forbid for themselves something that Allah allows them. As we talked about this verse in previous section, some people wanted to follow, practice Islam, but they made a mistake, and some Islamic issues, something that are allowed to them, they had forbidden to themselves. Like, for example, they forbid to themselves to eat from a special food, or from meat, for example, or fish, or something like that. Or even they forbid to themselves, for example, to sleep in the night, or to sit in such a way, anyway, overall to bother themselves and to torture in one way or another themselves. And they thought if they do such a things, they will be more religious. Allah says, O believers, لا تحرموا طيبات ما أحل الله لكم. Something which is tayyib to you. Tayyib, it means by nature you like it. By your nature you accept it. You enjoy it. Don't forbid it to yourself. ولا تعتدوا, and don't exceed the limits. Limit is, of course, this is allowed. Why you want to forbid to yourself? And something which is forbidden, of course, don't eat it or don't drink it, because that one is exceeding the limits. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ. Surely Allah doesn't love those people who exceed the limits. From this verse, we understand that Allah says that it is not accepted in Islam to forbid to yourself something which is allowed. Sometimes we don't do something which is allowed. For example, Islam allows to marry, but I delay. That's okay. Islam allowed me to eat a fish or meat or rice. I'm not eating. Either I don't like it or for some reason I don't want to eat. That is okay. But to forbid to ourselves, this is a kind of innovation. This is a bid'ah. To forbid to ourselves or believe that this is forbidden. This is something which is wrong, and Islam does not allow it. Marriage is the same. Marriage is sunnatun Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. If a person forbids to himself, of course, this is not accepted and it will not be forbidden, and in Islam it will be condemned. But if a person delays to the marriage and he doesn't need that much, he doesn't commit sin, of course, this is not forbidden. Allah says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تحرموا طيبات ما أحل الله لكم. It means, oh believers, if really you believe in Allah, you should not forbid something that Allah allows to you. If Allah had allowed to you and you believe on Allah, you should say that is okay. Not it means that definitely they must do it or eat it. For example, to eat an apple, it is allowed and lawful. It doesn't mean that we must eat it. No. It means that we are not allowed to forbid apple to ourselves unless for good reason. For example, I am sick and it is bad for me, or it is harmful at the moment to me. This is something else. But in normal situation, I should not forbid to myself. Allah doesn't want people get used to torture themselves and to fight against their nature. Whatever our nature will tell us, and Islam does not stop us from that. We can do it, we can eat it, and it is not forbidden. Allah doesn't want us to forbid ourselves. Again, I emphasize, sometimes we forbid for ourselves to ourselves with good reason, like at this time, this kind of food or fruits or something like that, it is forbidden to me, it is harmful for me, and I forbid it to myself. That is okay and it is accepted. But without reason, or something that really we need it, like marriage, it is not accepted in Islam to forbid to ourselves, and it is a kind of innovation if we say Islam like it, Islam ask me to do such a things. This is not accepted. We have understood that Islam is against any kind of extravagance, and also against wasting. Both of them are wrong. It means if a person eats too much, or threw the fruits or food, for example, which is good, threw away, this is forbidden and it is not accepted. And from the other side also, not to use at all and believe that Islam doesn't like us to eat it, or we say if we don't use it, Islam likes it more, or Prophet, we make Prophet happy. This is something that is not accepted in Islam, and this is wrong. Both of them are wrong. Extravagance and tafrit, which is wasting, both of them are wrong. Also, we have understood that in Islam there is nothing like monastic or single life or anything like ruhbaniyya, to be allowed, to be isolated, not to work with people, not to eat food with them, not to marry them, not to take them as a friend. This is not accepted in Islam, and Islam says live like average people, like normal people. More than that, if you put yourself in such a circumstances and you believe that Islam has ordered you, this is wrong and it is forbidden. Also from this sentence that Allah says, وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا, and don't exceed the limits. Allah wants to say that if you forbid to yourself not to use from such a fruits or good food, for example, good meat, it is a kind of exceeding the limits. Also from this sentence we understood that when Allah says وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا, and don't exceed the limits, it means at the same time that we are allowed to eat and we must not forbid eating from good food or good fruit. At the same time, Allah says, but it has limitation, and limitation is you are not allowed to eat too much to make yourself sick, for example. So not to use at all or to use too much, both of them are wrong. Thank you very much for watching. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.